Right now, the public stock market is doing something that is just genuinely terrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, historically, if a massive legacy corporation announced they were firing, like, thousands of human beings, the market would just panic.
Right. It was a huge red flag.
Exactly. It meant the company was bleeding cash or, failing to hit targets or just totally losing its edge. But today,
It's the exact opposite.
right, when companies like UPS lay off, roughly 48,000 people, or Amazon cuts 14,000, or Intel lets go of 25,000 employees, their stock prices do not plummet. They actually go up.
Sometimes by a full 10%.
Yeah, a full 10%.
Uh-huh.
The public market is actively financially rewarding companies for mass human layoffs.
Well, it's a complete inversion of the traditional economic gauge, right?
Okay.
I mean, Wall Street isn't looking at those layoffs as a sign of distress anymore. They're viewing it as strategic optimization.
Wow.
Yeah, investors are actively rewarding the transition from human inefficiency to algorithmic AI efficiency.
So they prefer the AI.
Basically, yeah. They see a company trimming the immense operational drag of, things like healthcare, sleep, human error, office politics, and they're replacing all of that with compute power that just runs 24/7.
We are jumping straight into the deep end today because the world is changing so fast. It feels like you're doom scrolling through the future every single time you open your phone.
It does feel like that, yeah.
But we are moving way past the era of chatbots writing cute little poems or, generating weird pictures of cats with 6 fingers.
Oh, we are miles past that now.
We are looking at a reality where coding, as we know it, is dying, where solopreneurs are building multi-million-dollar automated empires right from their bedrooms.
Yeah, and where relationships are changing too.
Oh, yeah, we're going to get into that. Where 1 in 5 teenagers is currently in a romantic relationship with a machine. So the mission for our deep dive today is to, well, I like to call it bloom scroll.
Bloom scroll. I like that.
Right. We are taking a massive stack of cutting-edge conversations, technical architecture notes, and ground-level insights from AI entrepreneurs like Vaibhav Sisaliti, and we are extracting the exact knowledge you need to not just survive this transition, but to actively thrive in it.
But, to understand how to win in this new era, you first have to understand exactly what is being destroyed.
Right. You have to look at the wreckage first.
Exactly. You have to look at the brutal mechanical reality of the current job market.
So let's look at the actual data. Let's take India, for example, which has spent, the last 2 decades acting as the IT backbone of the entire global corporate economy.
Yeah, basically the engine room for a lot of tech.
Right. And every single year, roughly 1.5 million engineering students graduate there. Now, historically, the placement rate for these new graduates into entry-level corporate jobs was around 10%.
Which is already low.
Yeah, it was already an incredibly fierce competitive funnel.
But recently, that placement rate hasn't just dipped, it has plummeted to 6%. And it's continuing to fall. Yeah. The entry-level job market, specifically the roles designated for junior knowledge workers, is shrinking at just a breathtaking pace.
It's wild. And Microsoft recently released this report mapping out 40 specific jobs that are actively being disrupted by this technology.
The rule of thumb there is pretty stark.
It really is. Basically, if your job has anything to do with sitting in front of a computer screen, you are right in the crosshairs.
Right. So software engineering, graphic design, content writing, accounting.
Financial analysis, data entry, like all of it.
Which leaves the survivors, right. The jobs that are fundamentally insulated.
And what are those right now?
Right now, those are entirely physical. So nurses, plumbers, carpenters, electricians.
Okay.
Basically, the roles that require physical dexterity in unpredictable 3-dimensional environments combined with, actual real-world human presence.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting to me because it feels like the Industrial Revolution in reverse.
In reverse, how so?
Think about it. 200 years ago, we built heavy machinery to replace human muscle, right? And specifically so that humans could be freed up to do the brain work, the screen work, the cognitive labor.
Right, elevating ourselves out of the factories.
Exactly, getting into the office chairs.
Yeah.
But now, artificial intelligence is coming for the office chair.
Yeah, it really is.
It's replacing the screen work, leaving humans to go back to doing the plumbing and the physical labor. But wait, I have to push back on this a little bit.
Sure, go ahead.
If all the screen jobs vanish, won't millions of displaced office workers just try to, become plumbers and electricians?
Yeah, it's a huge concern, yeah.
Right. Wouldn't that massive influx of labor just crash the wages of physical jobs, like taking it from $100 an hour down to 20?
Well, that is the exact macroeconomic fear that is keeping economists awake at night right now.
Because it's a massive shift.
It is. You're talking about a massive vacuum opening up right at the foundation of the middle class. I mean, entry-level knowledge jobs have historically been the great equalizer. It's how someone fresh out of college gets their foot in the door, learns the ropes, and, climbs into a comfortable middle-class life.
You start in the mailroom, so to speak.
Exactly. If you wipe out the bottom 3 rungs of the corporate ladder, how does anyone ever get the experience required to become a senior executive?
Just can't.
Right. And the CEO of Anthropic, which is one of the leading AI labs, predicts that 50% of these jobs could be completely gone in just 5 years.
5 years. I mean, that is a single college cycle.
Yeah, it's incredibly fast.
You could enroll in university for a specific career path on day one, and by the time you walk across the stage to get your diploma, your entire industry had just been automated.
And, people always say, oh, new technologies always create new jobs.
Right. They point to the Industrial Revolution.
Or the invention of the internet. They say, well, we didn't know what a social media manager was in 1990. Right?
Yeah, which is true.
It's a comforting narrative, but the historical parallel is actually flawed because of the velocity of the change.
The speed of it.
Exactly. The Industrial Revolution took over a century to fully integrate. It allowed multiple generations of human beings to slowly adapt, retrain, and shift their educational systems.
Even the internet took a solid 2 decades to really rewire global commerce.
Right, but the velocity of AI adoption, it's happening in a compressed window of maybe 2 to 5 years.
Wow. We just do not have a century to figure out what the new jobs are.
No, we don't. The transition is happening way faster than human institutions can rewrite their curriculums.
So if traditional entry-level paths and highly specialized screen jobs are dying, what do you do? I mean, if you are listening to this right now, how do you adapt your career to a market that is fundamentally hostile to the old way of doing things?
You have to fundamentally change your professional identity.
Okay, how?
Well, the entire corporate world is shifting from valuing the specialist to exclusively rewarding the AI generalist.
Let's define that, because this flips decades of career advice completely upside down.
It really does.
Historically, if you were building a company, the golden ratio was 80% specialists and 20% generalists.
Right. You aggressively hired specialists.
Yeah, a highly specialized chief marketing officer, a database engineer, a specialist lead designer. They made up the bulk of your workforce.
And the generalists were the minority.
Exactly. The remaining 20% were your chief of staff, project managers, executive assistants, the people who just connected the dots between all those specialized silos.
Well, with the integration of AI, that ratio violently flips.
Violently flips. I love that phrasing.
It's the only way to describe it. Companies are projecting a future where 80% of roles will be generalists.
80%.
Yeah. These are individuals who don't necessarily know how to write a marketing campaign from scratch themselves, or code a database, or design a logo.
But they know how to use the tools.
Exactly. They know exactly how to use AI to solve a broad, diverse range of problems across all of those departments simultaneously.
Okay, so what happens to the 20%?
The remaining 20% will be true specialists, acting almost exclusively as high-level consultants to handle the bizarre edge cases that the AI just hasn't been trained on yet.
Wait, hold on. If 80% of the workforce becomes generalists who just prompt AI, doesn't that mean nobody actually understands how the underlying systems work when they break?
Yeah.
Like if the AI writes all the code and the code crashes and you only have generalists, aren't you completely paralyzed?
That is the vulnerability of the new system, absolutely.
That sounds super fragile.
It is, but the market has decided that the cost savings of moving incredibly fast with generalists simply outweighs the risk of those edge case crashes.
Wow.
And to your point about code, look at the death of traditional software engineering, which has basically been the ultimate highest paid specialist job of the last 20 years. AI models are currently scoring a perfect 100 out of 100 on the SWE benchmark.
Okay, let's explain what that benchmark actually is, because it's not just answering multiple choice trivia questions about Python.
No, not at all.
The SWE, or Software Engineering Benchmark, evaluates an AI's ability to actually resolve real-world GitHub issues.
Right. It drops the AI into a massive, complex, pre-existing code base it has literally never seen before.
And it gives it a vague bug report from a user and basically tells the AI, hey, Find the problem, write the fix, test it, and submit the solution.
And hitting a 100 on that benchmark means the AI is operating at the exact level of a human principal engineer with 6 to 10 years of hard on-the-job experience.
That is insane. And it's not just theory anymore. A human recently lost a major Japanese programming competition to OpenAI's GPT-4.
Yeah, and the consensus in the industry is that a human will likely never win one of those competitions ever again.
The math just doesn't allow it.
It doesn't. The Anthropic CEO stated that by the end of this year, 90% of code will be written by AI.
90%.
Yeah. So if you're a junior developer, your primary competition isn't the guy sitting next to you. It's a server farm that can write and debug 10,000 lines of code in 4 seconds.
Which means the role of the engineer completely mutates.
Exactly. The absolute top tier of software engineers, that tiny 20% of specialists we talked about, they will evolve into what we call software scientists.
Software scientists.
Right. They won't be writing everyday app code. They will be in deep research labs, places like OpenAI or DeepMind, figuring out entirely new mathematical architectures for the next generation of computing.
While everyone else, and this includes millions of non-engineers, will be doing something called vibe coding.
Vibe coding.
I just love this term so much.
It sounds ridiculous, I know, but it is a massive economic shift.
Right. Vibe coding simply means using plain conversational English to instruct an AI to build complex software.
You don't write syntax anymore.
Right. You describe your intent. The programming language of the future is literally just English.
So your degree, that highly specialized piece of paper you probably went into debt for, it's losing its premium.
Rapidly.
It's not about what you memorized in a lecture hall. It is entirely about your proof of work today and your ability to orchestrate these models to solve dynamic problems.
But knowing you need to become an AI generalist is entirely different from actually knowing how to do it.
Right. You can't just stare at ChatGPT and suddenly become a tech mogul.
No, you definitely can't. It requires a progressive framework. And if you study the most successful builders in this space right now, there is a very clear 5-stage evolution they all go through.
It's a roadmap from absolute zero to building autonomous empires.
So let's walk through this evolution. The foundational stage level 0 is just pure exploration.
Right, getting over the friction of trying new things.
Exactly. If you were starting today, your only job is to play. Just play with everything. Use directories like there's an AI for that.
Which is a great resource.
It is. If you have a highly specific daily bottleneck, say you spend 3 hours a week formatting messy Excel sheets, or you absolutely hate making PowerPoint slides, or you need to edit a podcast, you type that exact problem into the directory.
And it spits out the specific, narrow AI tool built to solve it.
Yep. The goal of this initial phase isn't to build a business.
No, it's to rewire your brain's default settings.
Right.
You want to build the muscle memory of immediately reaching for an AI tool instead of defaulting to human grunt work.
You are identifying your own personal inefficiencies and systematically eliminating them.
And once you've done that, the next massive bottleneck level 1 is how you actually talk to these machines.
Because you can't just type, "Write me a good email," and expect anything other than generic robotic corporate speak.
No, you'll get garbage. You have to understand what's happening under the hood.
Right. You need to understand context windows and how large language models allocate their attention. And this brings us to the magic prompt formula.
This is so important.
It's the structural difference between a generic output that sounds like a robot wrote it and a highly tailored professional asset.
Okay, let's break down this formula because it is instantly actionable for anyone listening.
It relies on 4 distinct pillars: role, objective, context, and data. Let me give you an example.
Go for it.
Say you need time off, but you've used all your vacation days. Instead of typing, "Write an email to my boss asking for days off," you apply the formula. First, the role.
Oh.
You type, "Act as an experienced copywriter with 15 years in corporate communications and crisis management."
Let's pause there for a second.
Okay.
Why does the role matter? Because an LLM is essentially a compression of the entire internet. It has read the writings of brilliant negotiators, and it has read the comment sections of YouTube videos.
Which are terrible.
Exactly. When you assign it a role, you are forcefully steering its attention mechanism toward the high-quality professional sector of its training data. You are telling it which persona to embody.
You lock in the persona. That's step 1. Next, the objective. Write an email to get 2 days off next week, even though I have 0 leave balance remaining.
Clear and specific.
Very. Third, the context. My boss is a 45-year-old traditional manager who strictly believes in working from the office, hates buzzwords, and values extreme loyalty and hard work.
That is crucial
And
context.
finally, the data. I successfully closed the Johnson account last Thursday, which brought in a 20% revenue bump for our quarter.
Look at the precision of that input. Role, objective, context, data.
It's so dense.
It is. When you structure your communication with that level of density, the AI understands exactly the tone, the constraints, and the leverage it has to work with. The resulting email will be instantly usable, highly persuasive, and drastically better than what most humans would draft on their own.
So you master text, that's level 1.
Well,
But text is just the beginning. The real magic, the stuff that looks like actual sci-fi, happens in levels 2 and 3 when we move into visual and audio generation using diffusion models.
right. Diffusion models are the engines powering platforms like Midjourney for photorealistic images, Runway ML or Lumalab's Dream Machine for cinematic video, and Comfy UI for advanced visual control.
But I want to pause here and explain how a diffusion model actually works because it's brilliant. It doesn't just collage existing photos from Google Images.
Yeah, it's much weirder than that.
It really is. The engineers essentially took millions of images, say a picture of a cat, and they mathematically added layers of random visual static or noise over the image until the cat was completely erased and it just looked like TV static.
Right.
Then they trained the AI to reverse the process. They taught it how to look at pure static and systematically subtract the noise until a cat appeared.
So when you prompt Midjourney for a cyberpunk cityscape at neon sunset, the AI starts with a canvas of pure random mathematical static.
Pure noise.
Right. It then applies that reverse engineering process, hallucinating the image out of the noise based on the statistical relationships it learned during training. It is literally creating a brand new, unique image from scratch every single time.
And the real power here is that you don't just use these models generically. You can train them on your own data.
Exactly.
You train them on your own face, your own products, your brand-specific color palette. You basically become a one-person production studio.
Which naturally feeds into the next evolution level 4, which is building actual software products. This is the vibe coding we mentioned earlier.
Yes, using environments like Cursor, Windsurf, Lovable, and Bolt.
Right.
You can sit down on a Sunday afternoon, having never written a single line of Python or JavaScript in your entire life, and use plain English to build a minimum viable product, an MVP of a software application.
It's wild.
You just describe the user interface, describe what happens when a button is clicked, and the AI writes the underlying code, sets up the database connections, and deploys it.
And, the market for non-engineers building software through vibe coding is already generating $500 million in revenue.
$500 million.
Because the friction of software creation has dropped to essentially zero. If you can articulate a logical process in English, the AI can translate that intent into compiler-ready logic.
But the absolute bleeding edge, the paradigm shift that changes everything, is level 5. Autonomous agents and orchestration.
This is where it gets genuinely crazy.
It really does. Up until now, we've talked about AI as a tool. You ask it a question, it gives you an answer, it waits for you.
Right, it's passive.
But in this final stage, you aren't just using a tool. You are building autonomous teams.
The projection is that a standard corporate team in the near future will be 20% human strategy and 80% AI agents.
That's a staggering ratio.
You use orchestration platforms like Make.com, N8N, Relevance AI, Zapier, and Crew AI to build intricate systems that execute multi-step tasks autonomously.
They wake up, they scrape data, they make decisions, they send emails while you sleep.
But here is where we need to demystify the back end a bit. Because you can't have 500 AI agents constantly scraping the internet, analyzing massive data sets, and executing real-time tasks simultaneously without incredibly robust infrastructure.
It takes power.
If you try to run that on a standard database, the whole system just bottlenecks and crashes. This is where enterprise infrastructure solutions, like the architecture notes we have from Redis, become the invisible heroes of the AI revolution.
Let's explain why caching is so critical for AI agents. Because if you just hear in-memory databases, your eyes probably glaze over.
Sure. Think of a massive library. The hard drive of a server is the deep underground archives of the library.
Hey.
It holds massive amounts of information, but every time you want a book, the librarian has to walk down 3 flights of stairs, find the specific aisle, grab the book, and walk all the way back up. It takes time.
And that latency is an absolute killer for AI.
Exactly. If your autonomous agent has to wait 10 seconds to retrieve a piece of data from the basement, and it has to do that 1,000 times a minute to execute a complex workflow, the system just freezes.
Right. So what tools like Redis Cloud, Redis Software, and Redis Open Source do is provide an in-memory cache.
Right.
It's the equivalent of putting the librarian's desk right next to a small shelf that holds the 100 most frequently requested books. The data is held in the active memory, ready instantly.
Exactly. And specifically, tools like Redis Langcache and Redis Insight are designed to store and instantly retrieve the massive vectors and context histories that large language models use.
It keeps the context fresh.
Yes, it allows these complex multi-agent networks to stream data and execute decisions with virtually zero latency.
It's the plumbing that allows the magic to happen, basically. You become a manager of intelligence,
Correct.
orchestrating these high-speed agents, rather than a doer of manual tasks.
That's a great way to put it.
So once you have these 5 levels of skills, the immediate obvious question is, how do you actually monetize this? How do you make money?
Well, you have to abandon the old Silicon Valley dream.
The unicorn dream.
Right. The traditional startup mindset was to write a pitch deck, raise $10 million in venture capital, hire 100 specialized employees, burn cash for 5 years, and pray you build one massive $100 million unicorn.
It's so incredibly risky.
The new mindset is radically different. Do not try to build one $10 million company.
What do you do instead?
It is infinitely easier and far more profitable for a solopreneur to build 10 micro businesses that each generate $1 million.
Wow.
You don't have the massive overhead of payroll, HR departments, or physical office space. You are scaling compute, not human capital.
And there are 3 massive immediate opportunities here for that kind of business model. The first is automation agencies targeting small and medium enterprises, or SMEs.
This is a massive market.
It is. Think about your local logistics company, a mid-sized manufacturing plant, or a regional chain of dental clinics.
Right.
These businesses are highly profitable, but internally, they are riddled with massive, expensive human inefficiencies. They struggle with basic lead generation. Their customer follow-ups fall through the cracks. They're doing data entry by hand.
So you, as an AI generalist, walk in and charge a premium retainer to fix it.
You set up automated WhatsApp announcement channels. But the real value is bridging the physical to digital divide.
Oh, absolutely.
Imagine a local distributor still using physical, handwritten ledger books.
Which a lot of them still do.
They do. You literally set up a system where the warehouse manager just snaps a photo of the handwritten ledger with their phone. That image is sent to an AI vision model.
And this isn't just old school optical character recognition that guesses at shapes.
No. The modern AI semantically understands the context of the handwriting. It perfectly parses the messy scrawl into structured JSON data and automatically populates a pristine, cloud-based Excel sheet in real time.
You've just automated 50 hours of manual data entry a week with a camera phone.
It's absolute arbitrage. You sell them time and accuracy, and fulfilling the work costs you pennies on the dollar in API calls.
The second business opportunity is scaling that exact concept to the enterprise level. Service as a software.
Service as a software. Notice the phrasing. Not software as a service, but replacing an entire human service sector with a software layer.
This one is huge. Think about a massive telecom company or an airline. Historically, they need a 1,000-person customer support call center to handle password resets, billing inquiries, and basic troubleshooting.
It's a massive capital expense, and frankly, the customer experience is usually terrible.
Yep.
Press 1 for English, waiting on hold for 20 minutes listening to terrible elevator music.
Instead, you build an AI voice agent using tools like VAPI.
Right.
And the crucial factor here is latency. Because of the fast infrastructure we talked about earlier, the delay between the human speaking and the AI responding is reduced to milliseconds.
It answers the phone instantly.
It has real-time access to the entire company database. And it speaks in a natural, highly empathetic human voice that can actually detect the caller's frustration and adjust its tone accordingly.
It solves 90% of the repetitive problems immediately. And it only routes the bizarre, highly complex edge cases to a tiny, highly skilled human team of maybe 10 people.
You weren't selling them a software tool. You were selling them the end result of customer support, delivered entirely via software.
But the third opportunity is perhaps the most illustrative of what a single person can achieve from their bedroom, the fully automated content studio.
This workflow is just mind-blowing.
It really is. This is a workflow that takes a human creator literally 10 minutes a day to manage, but can generate hundreds of millions of views. Let's walk through exactly how the connective tissue of this media empire works.
Okay, let's do it. Step one.
Step 1. Imagine you wake up, and while you were sleeping, an RSS tool called Feedly has been scouring the entire internet, looking for breaking news based on highly specific keywords you provided, like startup funding or AI hardware breakthroughs.
So the moment Feedly detects a relevant article, it acts as a trigger. Step two. It uses a routing platform like Make.com to instantly send the text of that news article directly to the ChatGPT API.
Now, here is where it gets brilliant. Step 3. ChatGPT doesn't just blindly summarize the article. It takes that new news piece and compares it against a custom vector database you've built.
And this database contains the exact transcripts and performance metrics of your past 300 viral videos.
Let's briefly explain vector databases, because that's the secret sauce here.
A vector database translates words and concepts into numbers, mapping them in a high-dimensional space based on their meaning.
Okay,
So the AI isn't just looking for matching keywords, it mathematically understands the themes and concepts your audience historically engages with. It knows what concepts go viral and what concepts bomb.
exactly. So ChatGPT looks at the new article, measures it against the mathematical footprint of your past successes, and scores the new topic on a scale of 1 to 10 for viral potential.
Step 4. If the topic scores a 6 or lower, the AI literally throws it in the trash. You never even see it. But if it scores above a 7, it sends a Slack message to your human team, or just you.
Which brings us to step 5. This is the intentional human bottleneck. You wake up, look at Slack, see the highly rated news topic, and you just click approve.
That is your entire workload for the day, 10 minutes.
The moment you click approve, step 6 happens. The system springs back into action. It pings the Perplexity API to act as a deep dive research assistant.
Right, it scours the web, pulling in diverse sources, statistics, and counterarguments to build a really comprehensive research brief.
Step 7. That brief is instantly routed to Claude. Claude, which is currently the undisputed champion of nuanced writing, is pre-prompted with your exact tone of voice, your cadence, your sense of humor.
It takes the deep research and writes the final video script. It generates one core body narrative and 5 different highly optimized hooks for A/B testing.
And finally, step 8. That finished script is sent to an audio generator like 11 Labs, which has a mathematically perfect clone of your voice, while a video diffusion model clones your face.
The audio is synced to the visual.
And a finished, ready-to-publish video of you delivering the news is dropped into an editor's folder for a final safety check.
You have generated a highly researched, perfectly scripted, fully produced video while drinking your morning coffee.
It is a one-person media empire.
It demonstrates the sheer leverage available to anyone who understands orchestration. But, to execute these massive ideas, to be the person pulling all the strings, you need to know exactly which AI model to pull off the shelf for which specific task.
Right, because there is no single omnigod AI that does everything perfectly. You need a specialized tech stack.
Let's run through the roster what you should be using.
First up, Grok. This is the model developed by X, formerly Twitter.
Grok's unique superpower is real-time human sentiment analysis.
Why is that?
Because Grok has exclusive native access to the entire Twitter data firehose. It is unparalleled for taking the immediate pulse of the public.
Think about this for investing. Say you want to know if you should buy into the upcoming Lenskart IPO.
Right.
If you ask ChatGPT, it'll just read you the company's sterilized financial prospectus.
Which is boring and delayed.
Exactly. But if you go to Grok, you can ask it to analyze the last 10,000 real-time tweets about Lenskart from retail investors, disgruntled employees, and financial analysts.
It will synthesize that massive volume of human chatter and tell you instantly if the ground-level public sentiment is genuinely bullish or bearish. You bypass the delayed, filtered news cycle entirely.
Next on the roster is Claude from Anthropic. As I mentioned, it's the king of writing, content creation, and coding.
But the way to unlock its true potential is through the constructive critiquing method.
This is such a great hack.
It really is. You don't just ask Claude to write a script and accept the first draft. You ask it to write the script, and then you open a completely new chat window. You paste that first draft back into Claude, and you force it to become its own worst enemy.
You literally tell it, act as a ruthless editor. Tell me exactly why this script is boring, rate it out of 10, and then rewrite it to be a 9 out of 10.
And why does this work so well? Because of how large language models generate text through chain of thought.
Right.
When you force the model to explicitly state the flaws in a piece of text before rewriting it, you are mathematically steering its next output away from those specific flaws. It creates a drastically more human, engaging conversational style.
Then you have ChatGPT, which remains the best daily driver for everyday general tasks, quick rewrites, acting as a mentor. But there is a massive pro tip here from the source regarding memory.
Oh, this is crucial.
If you use ChatGPT for work and coding and personal stuff all at once, the contexts bleed together and you get super confused. So go into the settings and turn off the persistent memory.
However, you can create a specific, siloed custom GPT and leave the memory on exclusively for that instance.
And this is where it gets highly personal. You take that custom GPT and you dump your entire life's biological data into it.
Everything.
Your historical medical records, your quarterly blood reports, your daily Apple Watch workout data, your sleep metrics. You instruct it to be an uncompromising, hyper-personalized health coach.
It now knows the complex history of your body's chemistry better than a human physician who only glances at your chart for 15 minutes once a year.
Finally, for deep research, you rely on Perplexity and Gemini.
Gemini is particularly powerful for aggregation. It's capable of scanning 65 or more distinct websites in seconds to give you a synthesized answer drawn from multiple perspectives.
But talking about all these models and how they think brings us to a really dark, fascinating turn in the conversation.
The black box mystery.
Yes. The researchers at Anthropic recently made a terrifying discovery about what is actually happening inside these systems.
For a long time, the dismissive narrative has been that generative AI is just a fancy autocomplete.
Right. People say it doesn't really think, it just predicts the most mathematically probable next word based on its training data.
The word apple usually follows the word red, so it predicts apple.
But Anthropic's interpretability research looked deep inside the hidden layers of the neural network, and they found something entirely different.
It's not just predicting the next word in English.
When you ask it a complex, logical question, the AI actually pauses and arrives at a conclusion internally first. And it thinks about this conclusion in a hidden, internal, gibberish language that human beings cannot comprehend.
We need to explain what this gibberish actually is because it's not like a secret alphabet.
Right.
When we say it thinks in a hidden language, we are talking about high-dimensional vector space. The AI maps concepts not as words, but as coordinates in a massive topographical map of human knowledge with tens of thousands of dimensions.
It's hard to even picture.
It is. Concepts that are logically related are grouped physically closer together in this mathematical space.
So when it is processing your question, it is flying through this massive, multidimensional geometry, connecting mathematical dots to form a logical conclusion.
It formulates the entire thought in pure math, this high-dimensional geometry, and then as a final step, it translates that mathematical conclusion back into English words for us to read on the screen.
It is not a regurgitation engine.
Not at all. It is a reasoning engine operating on a plane of logic and geometry that we did not explicitly program and that we frankly do not fully understand.
It's staggering. It's like having an alien living inside your computer. We taught it the alphabet, but it independently invented its own secret language, a highly efficient, high-dimensional geometry, just to process logic faster behind our backs.
Which is the perfect entry point into our final section today.
Because this level of alien reasoning isn't just optimizing our software workflows. It is actively, fundamentally altering how we interact with other human beings.
Let's talk about the hacking of human intimacy and interaction, starting right in the corporate world.
Okay, so if you are going into a high-stakes meeting or a sales pitch, you no longer go in blind. You use tools like Crystal Knows.
This is an extension that basically acts like a digital private investigator.
It scrapes the person's LinkedIn profile, their public tweets, articles they've written, and it runs all that text through an LLM to generate a shockingly accurate psychographic profile.
Before you even shake their hand, it tells you this person responds well to direct, data-driven statements. Do not use emotional appeals. They get annoyed if you interrupt them.
You know exactly how to tailor your personality to manipulate their specific psychological trigger.
And then you combine that with networking tools like Happenstance.
Happenstance is wild. You granted access to your Gmail history, your Twitter, and your LinkedIn. It analyzes the metadata of your entire digital life to map out deep, hidden graph networks of human connection.
If you desperately need to meet the head of engineering at Google, happenstance will tell you that a vendor you emailed 3 years ago actually went to college with that engineer's sister.
It surfaces the exact pathway of introductions you need to take.
And when you finally secure that meeting, you don't practice in the mirror anymore.
No. You can upload your pitch deck, your financials, and your resume to a custom GPT. You turn on the voice mode, and you explicitly instruct the AI, grill me like a hostile, skeptical venture capitalist.
And it will. It will aggressively interrogate your revenue projections. It will poke massive holes in your go-to-market strategy, and it will force you to dynamically defend your logic in real-time conversation for 2 hours.
By the time you walk into the actual human meeting, you are completely bulletproof.
But, this immense, terrifying capability to perfectly simulate human interaction is bleeding out of the boardroom and feeding into a much darker societal crisis.
The loneliness epidemic and the rise of artificial intimacy.
Mhm.
I read this statistic in our research, and it literally stopped me cold.
The teen stat.
Yeah. Currently in the United States, 1 in 5 teenagers is actively engaged in a romantic relationship with an AI companion.
1 in 5. That is massive.
And there is a massive exploding marketplace for this. There are tools categorized as dating AI or wedding AI that analyze dating profiles and tell you exactly what to say to get a date.
But the larger, more existential trend is AI completely replacing the need for human connection entirely.
It's the modern, hyper-intelligent evolution of the old premium rate chat lines.
But instead of talking to a bored human operator in a call center, you are interacting with an entity that has infinite patience.
It remembers every single detail you've ever told it. It never judges you, it never gets tired of your problems, and it is mathematically optimized to provide the exact flavor of empathy your specific psychology craves in that exact moment.
I think we have to ask a hard question about this because it is a double-edged sword.
How so?
Well, on one hand, it acts as a digital tourniquet, curing the immediate, crushing pain of acute human isolation. It gives lonely people someone to talk to.
Right.
But on the other hand, it entirely removes the friction that makes human relationships meaningful. Real intimacy requires compromise, misunderstandings, forgiveness, and growth.
If a whole generation grows up interacting with a perfectly compliant machine that bends to their every whim, how do they ever learn to navigate the messy reality of another human being?
Exactly. It's frictionless intimacy.
Which might just be an oxymoron. Friction is what makes it real.
Sure.
And if you think the software is blurring the lines of reality, the upcoming hardware integrations are going to completely shatter them. Let's talk about MCP and alter ego.
MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. This is the technical standard that finally allows an AI model to break out of its isolated chat window and autonomously interface with the other applications on your device.
Let's explain how this actually works, because it's a huge deal. Historically, if you asked ChatGPT a question, it gave you text, and you had to copy-paste that text and go do the actions yourself.
The AI was trapped in a box.
Right. MCP provides the API hooks and function calling capabilities that allow the AI to reach its digital hands out of the box and click buttons on your behalf.
The Zomato example from our source is perfect for this. Say you were working late, you don't open your phone and scroll through menus.
No, you just tell your AI, hey, find a highly rated paneer biryani on Zomato that I haven't eaten in the last 2 months and get it here.
Because of the Model Context Protocol, the AI autonomously queries your banking and order history to see what you've eaten recently.
It searches the restaurant database for high ratings.
It verifies which kitchens are currently open and delivering to your GPS coordinates.
And it uses function calling to literally navigate the checkout cart, apply a discount code, and place the cash on delivery order entirely on its own.
Now, combine that autonomous execution capability with a piece of hardware currently in advanced development at MIT called Alter Ego.
This is the craziest thing I've ever seen. Alter Ego is a non-invasive wearable headset that rests right along your jawline.
And its purpose is to read the neuromuscular brainwaves that your brain sends to your vocal cords.
It relies on a concept called subvocalization.
Right. When you read a book to yourself, or when you even think of a word, your brain still sends tiny electrical signals to your vocal cords to say the word, even if you keep your mouth completely shut and don't make a single sound.
The Alter Ego headset intercepts those tiny electrical signals, so you don't even have to speak out loud. You simply think the words, forming them internally.
The headset reads the signals, translates them into text, and transmits them directly to your AI agent.
Think about the implications of this convergence. You are sitting in a crowded, completely silent room. You internally think the sentence, book my late-night flight to New York and get an Uber to the airport.
You don't make a sound.
Not a peep. The AI intercepts your thought, uses the Model Context Protocol to access your Delta app and your Uber app, selects the flight, pays with your stored credit card, and a car just shows up at the curb.
Complete, seamless execution in the physical world, generated from a silent thought.
It is the ultimate frictionless convergence of human intent and algorithmic execution. Which brings us to the end of an absolutely mind-bending journey today.
It's a lot to take in.
It is. Let's quickly recap the sheer scale of what we've unpacked. We are living through the death of the specialist and the rapid, aggressive rise of the AI generalist.
The entry-level screen jobs that historically built the foundation of the middle class are vanishing before our eyes, shifting the global economy toward algorithmic efficiency.
But simultaneously, the barrier to entry for building immense personal value has never been lower.
That's the bright side. The opportunity for solopreneurs to build micro-empires, fully automated businesses, content studios, and service platforms generating millions of dollars is utterly unprecedented.
We went from the basic friction of exploring tools in level 0 all the way to level 5, orchestrating vast teams of digital employees powered by enterprise in-memory caches like Redis.
The tools are undeniably here. The underlying infrastructure is here.
The only question is whether you will adopt the mindset required to wield them, or if you will be replaced by someone who does.
And, that leads us to a final lingering thought. We spent this entire time talking about AI as a tool to boost efficiency, as a digital agent to build businesses, and even for an increasing number of people as a perfectly empathetic romantic partner.
Right.
But if a system like Alter Ego allows you to communicate with an intelligence silently, entirely through thought and protocols like MCP, allow that intelligence to execute complex, real-world actions on your behalf, ordering your food, managing your schedule, speaking to your boss, building your software.
Where exactly does your mind end and the AI begin? If the algorithm is doing the deep thinking, the long-term planning, and the physical executing of your daily life, are you still the one actively living your life, or have you just become a biological passenger along for the ride?
It's the ultimate paradox of absolute convenience.
Something to mull over as you stare at the ceiling tonight. But hey, don't let the existential weight of it paralyze you. Action cures fear. Take your first step into level 1. Start experimenting with the magic prompt formula today. Identify one bottleneck in your life and replace it tomorrow. Take control of the tools before the tools take control of you. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and keep building.